Outer Orange.
BCS Worlds is around the corner. We are 1 month, a little bit over 1 month away from the biggest event of the year. BCS is under BCS is all to crown the champions. Today, we're gonna be talking about V Premium. What clans can top, will top, and won't top. So let's go ahead and do it. These are just my opinions. It's just what I felt throughout testing, throughout results. We got a lot of results that have happened. If you need to check all those out, check out vg-paradox.com for those things. I think my knowledge is pretty good, though I haven't had any tops this year, but I have spent a lot of time in this format. This is probably still my favorite format to play in competitively. Specifically competitively, I really like this format. So let's go ahead and break it down. We got a lot of clans to go through. Let's decide what's going to top and what's not going to top. We're going to start with Angel Feather. I'm just going to throw it in right now. This will probably not top. Malkuth is strong. However, some of the other decks are just a little bit stronger, a little bit faster. Yeah, just keep in mind, V Premium is a little bit high roll right now with, like, you know, top decking your pieces. If you top deck your pieces, you kind of can go crazy on a lot of decks, but the issue is, like, there's some decks that are just more consistent than others. I think Angel Feather though has a really strong Malkuth turns that it can do. The issue is that it's just not consistent enough, so I don't think it'll top. Aqua Force does have a chance of topping. We'll talk about this a little bit more. It's mainly, of course, Thavas focus. We'll kind of get into it because I do think Thavas is getting a little bit more behind with some other decks being more potent, but there is still a shot for Aqua Force. I do think the deck is still strong, but we do have some other kind of targets to talk about. Bermuda Triangle. Bermuda Triangle is insane right now. I think it's insane. It's insane what's insane. It's really bad what's really bad. The coin flip does matter. Keep in mind, guys, we do have the ruling too, where you can actually choose to go first or second, which I think in V this matters the least. I think you will want to go first almost all the time, unless your hand is just really terrible. But if I'm not mistaken, that decision is made before you see your hand. So I think ideally you usually want to go first, especially into decks like golds. If you don't know you're facing golds, you definitely want to pick first. But anyway, so with that being said, Bermuda's the deck Anj is actually really strong. I haven't had a chance to make the video on it yet because I just keep putting it aside, but Anj is a very, very potent deck. A lot of people still, to this day, I don't think are aware of just how many attacks that can do now. It is very, very strong. It's got the 4 stars, which kind of helps it a little bit if it's going first into Excel matchups, which we do have some heavy Excel decks that are very potent into this current format. So that being said, I think there is a very high likelihood that we'll see at least one deck top within the top 8 kind of section. I think definitely we'll see at least one go through. Also, there were so many Anj players that topped in the last couple months. It is very unlikely that they're going to be switching off. And if they're switching off, I can only see one deck that they might switch off to. And yeah, so long story short, definitely a topping contender. I think DI is not a topping contender anymore. I think it was at some point kind of like a decent pick. I think nowadays there are a lot of better choices than this deck, though this deck's not bad. By all means, this deck, especially going first, is very strong. Even going Amon into Shaharad or even straight to Shaharad, especially if your opponent gives you the damage, you can do some crazy stuff. But still, I do think it's a little behind. I don't think DP will top, though. I think there is hope for Dimension Police to top. The reason why I say this is because they are getting a new promo. Keep in mind, there are there's 2 promos that will be at Worlds, and it's the DP promo and the Genesis promo, and that could change some things for those deck clans in particular. I think the DP one makes Enigman better, but I do think DP itself struggles. Now, something kind of spicy about Dimension Police. Dimension Police has a card that directly outs majority of the decks that are in the topping tier up here. It just looks that it's not that DP itself is not very good, but DP does have an out to the current meta that we are in, which is very interesting because this isn't the clan you would expect this to be in. So there is, you know, some kind of shot that someone out there might just be like, you know what, I'll be the hero. I'll be the person that takes this one deck that has the one outs to most of these on boost do stuff decks. But I'm gonna still keep it in the will not top, because even if someone were to take it, it'd be like maybe one person. I don't expect anyone else to be on it unless they're like super memeing. But there is, like I said, there's hope for this, but it's not much. Gear Chronicle, I think, might have a chance in topping. I think it's the lowest deck on this list, and that would be the lowest deck on this list personally, so this will be at the very bottom of this whatever this thing is. The reason being is because, one, we've seen a lot of Gear Chronicle players, or mainly the same few that have been topping with it. Also, the promo just came out, and also because the promo came out, it actually made some decks within the clan stronger. And there's one more thing that I need to bring up. I've been making jokes about, you know, Gear Chronicle like the last couple months, but the thing about it is that the decks consist. I talked about how some decks have to top deck and high roll a lot of stuff. Well, this clan has access to find its grade 3 every single time because of cards like Gear Dog, and just in general, just drawing a lot of cards before riding to 3. Those cards are still there even without the Entrahan. Because of that, the decks can still scale out and kind of finish games. MFD, surprisingly enough, is actually really good. So there are some options that I think will carry this deck a little bit versus other decks that might just lose just because they're bricking. Okay, looks like this is Genesis. I am gonna put Genesis in the not topping category. However, again, this one did get a promo recently. It's dropping, so a lot of people don't have time to test into this. There is a chance for this deck or clan to kind of push a little bit. You do have the Genesis one that kind of came out. It says when this unit attacks while boosted, counterboss choose a crit trigger or a draw trigger from your soul, activate the trigger effect once and put it to the bottom and then put it to the bottom of your deck. So this is very interesting. It's like good and bad. So with that being said, there is a shot that it might like make some of the decks better, but I don't know. It only searches for 2s or less, and I will say it's Astro Poets. I think that's kind of rough, and I think Himiko will like it, but also be kind of weird because I don't know. We'll have to see. I don't know. I honestly don't know how well it could do. I'm not a big Genesis player, but I'm gonna say it's definitely in the not topping category. If anything, there won't be that many people on it. Gold Paladin. So gold, I definitely will think will top. I actually think it's the best probably of the options here so far. I think gold is actually very cracked. It's a little high roll. It definitely has a high roll issue. Like you kind of need to do stuff to kind of win the game, but it doesn't change the fact that this deck's insanely powerful. The new promo has definitely pushed this deck up. I think I think it's back in the spot that it was before when Percival was unbanned, and yeah, it's definitely extremely potent, very strong deck. I will say one thing, I think Duke is also very good too. I've made videos about Duke in the past. The reason why Duke I think is good is because again, it's back to the consistency thing where Gurgit excels in just high roll and just destroying you with going super first. Duke is very consistent. We'll just keep doing the same thing over and over again until it decks out basically, and the consistency and the pressure and everything of that deck is actually pretty good too. The downside to that deck is numbers, but you can put cards in that will create the numbers, and the downside to Gurgit is the high roll, and basically you can kind of pick your poison, but I think both decks are really strong, and just within the clan they're just really accelerating right now. I just think in general it's a very scary clan in V Premium especially, so definitely be on the lookout for that. And usually I would be surprised if this doesn't take all of Worlds, to be honest. Next we have Grand Blue, another very strong deck right now. The more I've tested into this, the more I started seeing sort of just how impactful this deck is now with the promo in mind. I think pre-promo was kind of okay, but with the promo in mind, this deck is absolutely insane, especially when it hits all its pieces. Grand Blue at peak with Night Rose is really strong right now. Promo is really strong. There's only so many times you can take Skull Dragons. If they live through like one of your turns after they already Skull Dragon you once, you're kind of super dead. You can only take dragons so many times, and now with the extra attacks it can do between the dragons, it's just really hard to block, very hard to deal with, and just yeah, this deck's just pretty insane. That way I think it's one of the strongest decks here, and I think the concept of it being able to play without a hand is just really impactful, which is something Gurgit can do as well. Gurgit just has Counterblast, call 2, and I think you can extend really far from that sometimes. I recently had a game where I healed out but I had no hand, and I was like, all right, well I'm just gonna have to raw swing and see what happens, and boom, my top 5 was insane. I just started popping off of that, so you just never know. Next I believe this is Kagero, definitely a not topping deck. I think Kagero is just got slam dunked by Heal Guardians, and especially in V, I just feel like it's really hard to do something in V with Kagero and win, so definitely not a topping deck. I think Link Joker is also not a topping deck. However, there are some people that think that there might be an out with using it into Gurgit. I personally disagree. I think Gurgit will still just win, especially if they go first, but there is a hope and of trying to kind of choose out a win. I just don't think it's enough. I confused the images. Great Nature, definitely think Great Nature is not gonna top. I know some people really like Leopold. Trust me, I like Leopold too. I think Leopold's great. However, I just think the advantage that Leopold has over every other deck that's currently up here is just so much stronger. I don't see it. I just don't see it. I know some people see it, but I don't. I get it. I just think what this deck does, other decks already do, and especially the decks up here. And because of that, I don't think this deck is gonna top. It could have a chance. There has been quite a few Leopold players. Leopold players really say that this deck's good. I think the deck's good. The issue is there's other Excel decks that are doing what this deck does and more. And I think the only thing that this deck does pretty consistently is send back triggers a lot, and a lot of times that can help you win games. Like that's cool and all, but also it's just cool to just win anyway. I think going second as a Leopold player is really bad, especially now. I will say I think about halfway through the year Leopold was a better pick because there were just less potent decks, but I think now, especially with Grand Blue and Ange and golds, I do not think that this is a good deck to take, but that's just my personal opinion. Bugs is just funny. Can sometimes high roll do like the most randomest stuff and just make you lose, like even deck you out and stuff like that. It's pretty funny, but nothing outside from that. Murakumo's definitely, I don't think it's a topping deck at all. I think it's just doing and nothing's really changed in Murakumo. It can kind of like, you know, high roll you with like a bunch of attacks and like hope you have to be in the hope you don't hit defensive situation, but it's still not enough. Definitely puts the deck in not topping tier. Next we have Narukami. I actually do think Narukami can top, and the reason being, I think there might be some people that want to cheese with the armor break, and I do believe that some people are going to try and make that work and kind of top with it. I believe it is possible. I do think, especially against decks like Gurgit, you can actually just hard ride the armor break and try to close out the game there. I think it's funny. I don't think it's good, but I think some people are going to try and cheese with it, and I think there's a chance that it might actually show results. Again, it's going to be at the bottom here. These two are kind of more like anomaly picks in my opinion, more than the actual picks, but hey, you never know. Neonectar definitely going down here. There's nothing too great going on in here. There's some funny stuff you can do, but nothing insane. Novogappa kind of falls into the same category. This is Nubatama. Nubatama falls into this category too. Nubatama is interesting. I think it's just too slow in V to matter. It's a protect deck too. I think if you're just a protect deck, you're already like at a disadvantage because all right, now the dominated marker is Excel and to some degree Force. It is kind of all of them right now. There's kind of like a trifecta of like the three best decks, right? And they're all different markers. However, I do think that you would rather, I think out of all the protect decks, this is definitely not the one you want to be on. So definitely on the lower part. Next we have Oracle Think Tank, also going to fall into this category. Oracle Think Tank has some interesting garbage tricks and all that stuff, but guess what? Gurgit does not care. Gurgit does not care about those garbage tricks at all. Counterblast, top 5, call a thing. We do not care. Pale Moon does sadly fall into this category. I had a lot of fun with Pale Moon this year. I was playing some Nightmare Dolls, but I think it's just getting way too slow. The promo isn't out yet, by the way, for this clan. I think there's one other clan, I can't remember which one off the top of my head, that doesn't have their promo as well. That'll be coming out with this one. But yeah, this one doesn't have their promo, and I don't think it needs it, to be honest, at least for the decks that are good. For the decks that are already doing their thing, they don't really have room for this card as much. But for the promo, but it still doesn't change the fact that I just think Pale Moon, I don't know what Pale Moon needs. It needs something, but whatever it has right now just is not enough to keep it in the game. It's not bad. The decks aren't bad. They're just either too counterblast heavy or too peaceful line, or there's always just something kind of, or too gimmicky. Like Luke here is like super gimmicky now. It's just kind of weird. I'm not a fan. Royal Paladin, a lot of people have been like randomly winning with this. I don't really know why. There is like the Think Saver list, like just, no, sorry, not the, yeah, is it? I don't know. It's the restanding one, the one that's just like Duke. There's that deck that's like basically just restanding Duke as well, but in Royals. And I just think it's like weirdly, I don't know. I think it's very peaceful reliant, but I don't know. People are making it work, especially with the pro and stuff like that, since you can, you know, call out cards and all this stuff. But it makes sense. But at the same time, I'm not really feeling it. But you know, people have been winning with it, so maybe there's a chance. There's also the Think Saver Jewel Knights deck, which is actually pretty good. I've seen some people have been testing it more. But I don't know. It's still a little too slow. It has to go first to kind of really push off, and I don't know. It's rough. It's rough out there. Shadow Paladin. I think Shadow Paladin had its light, and it is now gone. I do think I think Shadow Paladin, Luard specifically, definitely got pushed out of the meta because of Gold, Grand Blue, and Bermuda Triangle and Davos being really potent. I do think Luard still just has like this random, like really fun time with its like really good like high rolling of like I get 3 force markers. However, I think now with the decks we currently have that have insanely strong going first turns, if Luard goes second into those, you might as well just scoop. It is just a really one-sided game. It's pretty awful. It's really hard being Luard right now. I think playing, unless you're like a really big Luard fan, you just haven't touched any other deck. We probably shouldn't be on this, to be honest, but I don't expect it to top. It might, because for some reason Luard people just do not drop this deck. Luard players just are very, very, very passionate Luard players, which all props to them for being passionate Luard players, but you know, because of that alone, there might actually be some Luard players. Spikes, I don't think will top. I know there has been some results recently. The deck has never been terrible, but I think it just doesn't have enough to do what it wants to do in comparison to other decks. I think going first is pretty good, and you know, with the double force marker with Rising Nova, very awesome stuff. I just don't think it's enough. I am actually very scared of this clan, so this kind of for someone who hates facing this clan, this is probably one of my least favorite clans to face into. It's not that I don't like facing it, it's just that I can't stop what it's doing a lot of the time, and just the double hits are just very painful sometimes, and it's scary. You know, you can only take like 3 hits, and taking 3 hits can be very scary. You have to guard very specifically, and if you don't open really well or have shield, you can just randomly lose. But I do still think the deck is definitely a not topping contender. And last but not least, what in the world is this? It's Tachikaze. It's always Tachikaze. I forget about it. It's Tachikaze. I don't think Tachikaze can top. Yeah, not at all. This deck's just, it's okay. It's really all it is. It doesn't have any like special win con or anything that really makes it shine, and I think that's what puts it down here. Now we're at the end here. We have all our clans. So basically I deemed golds, I actually wanted to be like this specifically. I deemed golds, Grand Blue, Bermuda, Aqua Forest, Gear Chronicle, and Narukami as potential topping. I will say this one's definitely more of like a copium, like, oh my god, Armor Break Dragon type of thing. This one definitely should probably be here, but I think I'll put it here just because I think this is probably where it belongs. But I think these are the 5 potential contenders. I know it's crazy that this isn't here. I know it's, I think it's crazy too, but with how much results we've seen, like, it's not, there's a shot. But anyway, so these are the 5 decks that or 5 coins that I definitely think will be in top 8. I'd be surprised if they're not in top 8, and I don't think you should be surprised either. All of these decks are really good. I would say if you really want to keep it consistent, this is the best clans right now in the format by far, and people will 100% be taking these. This is like the peak of the format right now. These are the 4 strongest decks in the format by far in terms of like their ceiling. Their ceiling on all 4 of these decks are really good. I think the ceiling of this one is not the weakest, but I still think the ceiling is really good. And I think just a lot of these clans, especially if they're breaking, just start struggling and they just can't keep up. Rather, it's because they don't have enough support. The promo that just came out just isn't as strong as the ones in these, or the decks just aren't, they just don't have like a way to really push for game like these decks do. I'm gonna put this one back because I think for consistency reasons, this one's actually pretty good. So pretty good, surprisingly enough. Quick rundown TLDR. Golds, which is Gurgit, specifically Gurgit, Duke can kind of come through as well. Grand Blue, which is specifically Night Rose. Sorry, Beatrice, I love you, but girl, you need some help right now. We got Bermuda Triangle, specifically Anj, but also I didn't mention it too much earlier, but it's also Highlander. I don't think Highlander is as good as Anj is, but there are some people that have been winning with Highlander Reindeer, so there is the possible chance of that. I do think Anj will be the one that'll shine the most. Aqua Force, which is Thavas, just Thavas being Thavas, and Gear Chronicle will probably be Steam Maidens, but there's also a chance for MFD. So those are the decks that I could see 100% just taking it all, going straight to top 8. I feel if you're playing for Worlds, you'll probably be on one of these. I would not be surprised. If I were playing Worlds, I would 100% be on one of these 3 without a doubt. I wouldn't even second guess it. It would definitely be one of these 3. There's just the advantage is just too good. But with that being said, what do I think will win Worlds? Like, will win the entire event? So we are going to add a 3rd row. So by what will win, I mean first place. I think this will be first place, but I have a very slight hunch that one of these 2 can break through, but I personally think that this will be for the first place winner. It will be Gurgit. We are having like the slight rule change, but if anything, I think that only adds on to people wanting to play golds even more. But long story short, I do strongly think that the golds will take it all. I think the deck's insanely good. We have some insanely good golds players in the V format that'll be competing. They know who they are. They'll probably be taking some really insane lists into this. I think this is what we're going to be looking at for Worlds. I made this tier list mainly for Worlds, but I'm not going to lie, this format's probably going to be around for a little bit, probably until at least May. I know we're getting some new promos, but I don't think they're going to be that impactful. So we're going to be in the tournament for a while until a ban list happens. There might be a ban list that might fix some of the current decks that are, very strong. I don't like, a little love tap for something, maybe. I don't know. May need a love tap somewhere. But otherwise, outside from ban lists, this is basically going to be our format for a bit now. So hope you guys enjoy this. Like, subscribe, comment, do all that good stuff. 50cards.shop, OuterOrange for all your goodies. I hope you guys liked my insight on these decks. I have spent a lot of time on this format. Really enjoy this format, even though it's really terrible right now. But I'm still enjoying it. I can't wait to see all the World's action and watching competitive players just take it all. Who's gonna win? You guys will have to find out soon. But that, guys, peace out. That's Vidano. See you guys in a future video. Bye!